Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third of our HipFest at Home online presentations for 2023. Thank you for joining us. My name is Alison Strauss, and I'm the director of the Hippodrome Silent Film Festival and the programmer of the Hippodrome year-round. We're just going to start off with a bit of housekeeping before we get properly underway. Subtitles are available by clicking the CC icon in the YouTube video player. And if you're joining this presentation for the online premiere, you can submit questions or comments in the chat box. Lynanne and co have kindly agreed to watch along as this talk goes live. So they'll endeavour to respond to any messages in the chat throughout the presentation. So do keep an eye on the comments. That's all the practicalities out of the way. It has been such a pleasure to host this HipFest at Home series. The talks on Maurice Turner and on serial queens have given us the chance to gather together in a virtual space and to explore some of the silent film stories behind our headline programme. And I'm really looking forward to this latest gathering, during which we can unpack some more silent film treasures. For this event, we have not one, but three international speakers, Steve Massa, George Willeman and Lynanne Schweighofer. And the three of them have been working tirelessly for weeks. They've been working like dogs to put together a bespoke program of films from the Library of Congress National Audiovisual Conservation Centre, all featuring man's best friend. And they've come up with some real gems. I'm hugely grateful to them all. And I'm delighted to say that this presentation will feature piano accompaniment by the wonderfully talented musician Mike Nolan. We've asked Mike to provide semi-improvised music for selected clips in the programme, the ones that are about 60 seconds plus. And we know that you'll enjoy the clips even more with the addition of his skilled accompaniment. It gives me great pleasure to hand over now to Lynanne, George, Steve and Mike.
Hello. I'm Lynanne Schweighofer, and I'm a preservation specialist at the Library of Congress here at the National Audiovisual Conservation Center in Culpeper, Virginia. Dogs and humans have shared a unique relationship for tens of thousands of years. Scientists debate the exact date of domestication, but what we do know is that over the passing centuries, dogs and humans have integrated their working lives. Humans have welcomed dogs into their homes and into their families. The advent of moving pictures provided another journey for dogs to share with humans, and as it turns out, they were there from the beginning. We're going to take a look at the beginning of this journey with some films found in the collections of the Library of Congress. At the dawn of motion pictures, films were short, often under a minute, and they offered glimpses of life unscripted. Today, we call these early cinematic offerings actualities. Dogs make many appearances in actualities, and often this is quite accidental because in the late 19th and early 20th century, American cities teemed with stray dogs and cats. Animal control really was a problem, and dogs and cats were everywhere. There were times, though, when cameras deliberately turned to dogs for subject matter. In September of 1894, the fellows at the Edison Laboratory filmed a trio of dog-centric titles in their studio, which they nicknamed the Black Maria. These films were called Rat Killing or Rats and a Terrier, numbers 1, 2, and 3. And the films were exactly what they sound like. A trained terrier dispatches a number of rats that are released into the Black Maria. These blood sport films were not considered much of a success. The Edison folks said that the rats were too quick and they were too small to be seen clearly. But I suspect the subject matter just wasn't terribly pleasant, and that may have been one of the problems. The Edison Company did not register these three films for copyright, and none of them are known to survive today. A sidebar about American copyright law is needed here. Motion pictures were not added to the list of works eligible for copyright until 1912. The solution prior to this as to how to copyright moving image works was found when an employee of the Thomas Edison Laboratories, that many suspect was W.K.L. Dixon, printed out a series of frames on gelatin-infused paper and sought registration for these series of images as Class J photographs. It was a gambit. An unknown Copyright Office employee accepted this registration, and the rest, as they say, is history. Paper prints like this one form the basis of the motion picture collection at the Library of Congress. The earliest surviving strictly dog film in the library's collection features water spaniels, a fox terrier, a pug, and a Saint Bernard. What is striking about many of the earliest dog films in the Library of Congress is how similar they are to something we're very familiar with today: viral videos on the internet, social media, or maybe even the cell phone in your pocket. Kids and dogs, it's cute stuff. The film we just saw is quite possibly American Mutoscope and Biograph's attempt to one-up a film that the Edison studio called Babe and Puppies, which had been released a few months earlier in April of 1904. Edison shot his film in the Black Maria, but American Mutoscope and Biograph used a camera designed by the now former Edison employee, W.K.L. Dixon. Dixon's camera was smaller, lighter, and it could be taken on location. Children and dogs would be a winning formula, even without a narrative. One could contend that some of these dog subjects were not made necessarily just to showcase kids and dogs, but to test the capabilities of a particular camera, a lighting technique, a film stock, or attempts at location shooting. The following subject, also released in 1902, was actually shot in 1899 in a rooftop studio in New York City. One can guess the lighting wasn't all that they had hoped for, but the subject matter was cute enough not to let the film sit on the shelf. Another concept we're familiar with in the viral videos of today is dogs performing tricks. In the early 20th century, circus and vaudeville acts provided ample fodder for this type of material. And then there's this. Pretty weird, right? Laura Comstock made sure her name appeared visually in the title of her film. The dog's name was Manny, by the way. Some vaudeville acts could be quite elaborate, and they were quite well suited to motion picture. As the motion pictures transition to a narrative form, we see dogs depicted in the roles of loyal friends, family members, and daring heroes. These dogs befriend the friendless, console the grieving, and of course, they save the day. If only humans were as constant and as brave. 1910, the Vitagraph studio gave audiences the first true American canine star, a collie named Jean. Jean starred in 25 films, but very few are known to survive to this day. 3 of these films survive in the Library of Congress. Jean was a loving and virtuous character. She brought families, friends, and even lovers together. Jean's popularity proved that dogs were viable stars in their own right. She paved the way for more dogs to nose their way onto the silver screen.
Hello, I'm Steve Massa. I'm a film historian, author, and co-host of the live stream Silent Comedy Watch Party. Now, Lynanne has just told you about the earliest movie dogs, so I'd like to take up the tale, pun intended, with the canine comedians. Well, some of the very first animal comedy characters in films were actors in elaborate costumes, such as William Fables in this photo from 1914's Buster Brown on the Care and Treatment of Goats. Now, this was a holdover from stage pantomime and comic operas, but filmmakers soon discovered that since films had no sound, real animals could be easily directed from behind the camera. The first slapstick dog came at the Max Sennett studio and was a member of Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle's family. Roscoe and his wife Minta Durfee's dog Luke began turning up in bits, and by 1915, shorts like Fatty's Faithful Fido were tailored around him. Arbuckle left Sennett's employ in 1917, and Luke went with him. So the studio developed their own dog star, Teddy the Great Dane. Now, having started his career in vaudeville as Teddy the Athletic Dog, the 42-inch tall, 145-pound pooch became one of the most famous and popular four-footed actors in movie history. Immortalized in the famous Teddy at the Throttle, his reign at the Sennett studio lasted 8 years. Another bestial paramour that followed in Teddy's success was Brownie, who became a star for Century Comedies in outings like 1922's Circus Clowns. Brownie's popularity opened the floodgates, and he was quickly followed by male successors such as Pal and Buddy. But the only comedian of the litter was Cameo. Owned by supporting comic Hap Ward, Cameo not only had comedy chops, but real acting skill, illustrated by these scenes from the 1923 feature Penrod and Sam. Cameo made the transition to sound films, had no problem with barkies, and appeared on screen until 1935. Some of her overlooked movie colleagues included Mutt, Kid, King Tut, and Buster. But I'd like to end this segment with the top dog of silent comedy, Pete the Pup. Still a movie icon today thanks to decades of television showings of The Little Rascals, you put a ring around any dog's eye and people will know that it's supposed to be Pete. He made his debut as a young pup in 1923 and was busy supporting stars like Harold Lloyd, Stan Laurel, Bobby Ray, and Al St. John. In 1925, he became one of the stars of Century's Buster Brown comedies. This series brought him to the attention of producer Hal Roach, who hired Pete for his Our Gang comedies. His debut came in 1927's The Glorious Fourth. In this clip that we're going to see, Pete devours an inventor's explosive pellets and spends the rest of the short causing explosions when he coughs up the little bombs. The original Pete passed away in 1930, but his son and other dogs wore the eye ring and carried on the tradition in the Our Gang shorts for many years. After sound arrived, there would continue to be canine comedians that captured movie and TV audiences' attention. There was Asta, a.k.a. Skippy, in the Thin Man films, Benji, who was played by Higgins, Eddie, a.k.a. Moose, on Frasier, and most recently, Uggy in 2011's The Artist.
This trailer is the only surviving footage from the 1928 feature Tracked, starring Ranger. Ranger made 16 films between 1926 and 1929, and only 5 are known to survive. Ranger was one of the many canine actors vying for stardom in Hollywood in the 1920s. I'm George Willeman, and I'm the Nitrate Film Vault leader here at the Library of Congress, and I'm going to take you on a short trip looking at some of the star dogs of the silent era, the ones who got their names above the title. Regardless of all of their talent, they all owe their careers to one particular dog. Rin Tin Tin came on the scene in 1923 in Where the North Begins, his first starring feature. He helped bring the fledgling Warner Brothers studio out of bankruptcy and had a career spanning 27 films, 2 sound serials, and 2 Barkies. To this day, his name conjures up the image of the noble, selfless hero dog. Here he is in a scene from 1927's The Night Cry. Peter the Great was another German Shepherd actor who came to Hollywood by way of the Berlin Police Academy, where he had been training. In 1926, he was shot and killed during an argument between his owner and another dog fancier. Peter's owner was awarded $125,000, the highest award in a case of this kind to that time. Here he is in his 1926 film, Sign of the Claw. Like their human counterparts, dog stars have to contend with the Hollywood PR machine. Here's a short piece from a 1924 issue of the Screen Almanac showing Mr. and Mrs. Strongheart on their honeymoon. Strongheart actually predates Rin Tin Tin in the movies, his first feature coming out in 1921. And even though he only made 6 films, he ended up being one of the highest paid actors of the late silent era. One of our personal favorites is the film His Master's Voice, which stars Thunder and his son Flash. An independent film, it has an interesting construction in that it is a story within a story. It begins with Thunder telling his son Flash about how he raised his master. And then it goes into the story of Thunder and his master. And here are a couple of sequences from that film. And finally, just for fun, here is a piece from Screen Snapshots from September of 1925 showing the birthday of Elak, the wolf dog. Elak only made 2 films in his career, but Sid Grauman, the owner of the Egyptian Theater, never missed a chance for great publicity, human or canine. We thank you so much for watching our little presentation here on movie dogs. For my colleagues, Lynanne Schweighofer, Steve Massa, and myself, we hope you enjoyed our little show here and that you will keep an eye out for the upcoming release of Kino Lorber and the Library of Congress's Dog Movie Stars, whatever it may be titled. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thank you to Steve Massa, George Willeman, and Lynanne Schweighofer. Wonderful. We're so grateful to you for digging out these canine rarities and introducing us to Fido, Teddy, Mutt, and all the other doggy superstars and bit players. Thanks to Mike for his spirited performance. Mike will be playing for the thrilling historical melodrama The Man Who Laughs at the Barony Theatre in Bowness on Saturday, the 18th of March at 7:30, as well as providing accompaniment for the clips being shown as part of the associated talk All Faces and Masks at the Hippodrome and live streamed on Wednesday, the 22nd of March at 2:30. Book your tickets now. And finally, thanks to all of you at home for joining us. This conversation has been recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel where you can rewatch at your leisure, tell your friends. And if you are travelling to Bowness this year, please join us for our doggy film screenings on Saturday, the 25th of March in the Hippodrome, Rin Tin Tin in Where the North Begins, Buddy the Dog in Dog Shy, starring Charlie Chase, and Zimbo the Dog, who steals the show in The Man Who Laughs. See you soon. My own doggy superstar. This is Clarence. And it's a bit heartbreaking because he's just had an operation, but he's on the mend and he's being a very good boy. Say hello. All right. Oh. This is Oren. He's the biggest scruffy and he's also a very good dog.